What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Building the Village podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Brandon W. Jones, your Chief Village Building Strategist, and you are tuned in to episode number 36. Had to go look at the notes, right? Of the Building the Village podcast. And I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited every time you're here, whether you're tuning in for the first time or the 36th or 37th time. I'm glad you're here either way. If you're a first timer, first of all, welcome. Secondly, if you haven't already done so, like, comment, subscribe to this episode, to this channel, to this podcast, wherever you're listening to it or watching it from. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the follows. And I also appreciate the shares. If you like content like this and you get something out of this episode, share it with your friends, post it on your Facebook page, put it on your LinkedIn profile. If you want to, follow me on Instagram, X, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm at B Jones Speaks. And I am on YouTube as well. If you're not already familiar with my B Jones Speaks YouTube channel, I'd love to connect with you in any of those spaces. And so please, friend, keep the conversation going. All right. So today, we're going to be diving into the importance of making halftime adjustments while in pursuit of our goals. Just like in sports, taking a moment to reassess and adjust our strategies can make all the difference in the world when it comes to hit the microphone, a difference in achieving success. One of the things that got me thinking about this is everybody, y'all know I'm a huge college football fan. I diehard Texas Longhorn fan, work at the University of Texas, but also been a fan my entire life. And also a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan, fly Eagles fly. And the NBA, my team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Most people don't know that, but I am a huge OKC fan. And in each of those sports, um, halftime occurs. And halftime is that time of the game where it's a break for the players, the officials, and the fans. The fans get up and go to the bathroom, and the officials rest, and the players that are competing and the coaching staff of the respective teams, they go into the locker room, they recharge, they hydrate, they get energized and ready for the second half, and they come out and compete again for two more quarters, depending on the sport that you're watching, right? So, why is that important to our context? Well, in life, in pursuit of our goals, we have a year, we have a 365-day calendar, and a lot of us work in organizations and industries that look at things in quarters, right? And so we're now in the month of July, and the month of July kicks off that third quarter. So we've got July, August, and September. And then that fourth quarter is going to be October, November, and December. I always used to get that confused. I always used to get that whole quarter thing confused, right? But anyways, one of the things that stands out to me when it comes to quarters is because we're past that midpoint of the year. I want to ask you all a question. Have you sat down at any point in time and looked back over the first half of this year? And the reason why I think that's important is because in order to fully understand the rest of this episode, I want you to get an understanding of what halftime adjustments are. Halftime adjustments are those adjustments that are made at the midpoint of the game. There have been sporting events that you have no doubt seen where the first half of the game was going one direction, and then coming out after halftime, one of the teams made an adjustment that made all the difference in the world for that team. And I want to point that out because you and I need to do the same thing. And it's important that we remain flexible while in pursuit of our goals. Well, why is that important, Brandon? If we're rigid, if we're inflexible, if we're very hard and fast about whatever it is that we're doing, and we don't remain flexible in what we're doing, that can lead to burnout. It can lead to failure. And that lack of adaptability can lead to us not ultimately achieving the goals that we set for ourselves. I've watched several games throughout my lifetime where I've watched coaches struggle, I've watched teams struggle for an entire half of a game. And then instead of making adjustments, instead of making critical substitutions, instead of reorienting the personnel or redistributing the labor, some coaches choose to come out and keep trying the same strategy that wasn't working, hoping that in the second half it's going to just suddenly magically flip on and make the difference. And the reality is there are times more often than not where due to lack of adjustments, coaches lose the games. Players lose faith in their coaches. And then all of a sudden, it leads to the downfall of a great organization or a team. You and I are the same way. So what do we need to do at this 6 month, well, now the 7th month mark as we kick off this third quarter? Well, the first thing we need to do is assess our progress. Have you taken a moment to stop and reflect on your progress from this first half of the year? I want to encourage you all to evaluate where you are against where you plan to be. Because if you just keep going, hoping that, oh, okay, I still got time, let me just keep going, that may or may not be the best strategy. I would encourage you to actually take some time to reflect on the progress. And one of the ways that you can reflect on your progress is ask a series of questions. Here's the first one. What goals have I achieved so far? Out of all the goals that I set for myself, whether it was at the end of 2023 or at the end of the year, or whenever you find yourself listening to this episode, what goals have I achieved so far? You can ask yourself these questions about your life in general, but so that it doesn't get overwhelming and so that you don't fall into some deep existential crisis, just ask yourself, what goals have I achieved so far? Then ask yourself, what obstacles have I faced? Make a note of those things because life be lifing, okay? It does. And I say that to my students, I say that to my staff. I don't say that as an excuse, but life indeed does happen. And so ask yourself, what are the actual obstacles that I faced? Was it procrastination? Was it a layoff? Was it a family emergency or traumatic event? Whatever the case may be, list those obstacles out. And then ask yourself this third question. Are my original goals still relevant or have my priorities changed? Let's pause there for just a second because I want to talk to that person that's listening right now that is scared to change their mind. I want to say this to you. It's okay to change your mind. Pausing for dramatic effect. It is okay to change your mind. Why? Because things have happened since January 1st, or whenever you're listening to this episode, that may have caused you to rethink some things. You may have had to shuffle some things or put some things at the top of your priority list, things that may have been beyond your control. That might be one of the obstacles that you faced. Well, are those original goals still relevant? I don't know, but maybe you should do something like journal. Use a progress tracker like Asana or Trello. And again, I'm not paid by any of those companies, but I am putting that out there because there are project management tools that can help you with assessing your goals and tracking your progress. Or maybe there's a goal setting app that can aid in this. But the most important thing to do in trying to make an adjustment is actually making the adjustment. After you've asked, what goals have I achieved so far? What obstacles have I faced? And are my original goals still relevant or have my priorities shifted or changed? Now it's time to make an adjustment because we're in the third quarter now and we got to compete. We've got to do our work. There's projects that still need to be done. The family's dependent on us for this thing. The village is needing you for whatever it is that they depend on you for. So you need to make adjustments. Well, what does that look like? You need to identify those areas for change. I want you to think about what are those areas that you absolutely need to make change in? Is it the actual goal itself that needs to change? Is it the timeline? Because some of us get a little bit too ambitious in the creation of our goals. And so we like, man, in 90 days, I'm going to make $1 million. That's ambitious. And you might actually have been able to do that for the exception of, or were it not for one of those obstacles that showed up. I'm not trying to trash anybody's goals. What I'm saying though is that you need to identify the actual areas that need to be changed. There's no need in adjusting anything that's working. If it's working and you're making significant progress towards the goal, don't change it. That's like subbing in a player that doesn't need to be subbed in if the person that's in the game is doing great and we're able to compete and we're doing fine, unless we've got a significant enough margin or it's clear we're going to win. That's the only time you make an adjustment. This is when a coach, if you're blowing a team out, right? This is when a coach puts in a reserve player at some point or makes it a plan. That's fine. But if there's a strategy that you have and it is working, keep going with the strategy in this instance, but identify what things do need to actually change. Is it the goal? Is it the timeline? Or is it the method that you're using? You got to know what changes need to be made. If you set a financial goal at the beginning of the year and you have not met that goal, what about that financial goal needs to change? Do I need to change the amount? It's okay to change your mind. Do I need to increase the amount because it wasn't ambitious enough? Make the adjustment. Is it that it was is it that the steps that I'm taking to reach that goal, is it that I only have one stream of income versus the two that I thought I was going to have? What adjustments do you need to make? What are those areas? The second thing is you may need to set some new milestones, okay? When you set new milestones, meaning do you need to sit down and say, you know what? I will know I've achieved this goal when I've reached this dollar figure, or I will know I'm in pursuit. Sorry, I'm making sufficient progress towards this goal when if I look up by this day, I have X number of dollars in the bank, or I now weigh this weight in pursuit of getting to this goal weight, right? Whatever the case may be, you want to set a realistic milestone because, again, you've only got a little bit less than 6 months left in the year. Okay. What is that new milestone? How do we break that big goal down into those smaller, manageable tasks that can be completed over the next couple of months and in completion of that goal? You may need to seek feedback. That's another thing you need to do when making the adjustments. What feedback do you need to seek? Who do you need to seek feedback from? Is it from a mentor? Is it from a peer? Is it through an assessment of some sort? Is it through your village? This is where the village comes in at. Because the village can help you make the adjustments. And a lot of the times, the people who are in your village, they've been watching you. They've been seeing you go after those goals. And some people, because they watch you closely and they love you and they care about you in the village because they're connected and not just merely networked, they may be able to point out where some gaps are. So you want to seek feedback, but you also want to stay motivated. Listen, being motivated for some of us, we fell short of our goal early in the year, or hey, we may not have gone to the gym as much as we wanted to, and so we might have given up on that. I know that a lot of people jokingly post on Facebook, well, day 3 into the new year and I've already fell off. We'll start over in 2025. Listen, that's jokes for some people, but that's real for others. I want to encourage you to stay motivated. Reward yourself. Find a way to stay connected to your supportive community, your support system, your village, because that goal you set it for a reason. Remember why you set that goal, okay? You want to make sure you remember why you set that goal. And again, more importantly, just stay motivated during this adjustment period. Come out of that halftime, come out of the adjustment, come out of the locker room ready to fight, ready to compete, ready to push yourself for the remainder of the year. This is the third quarter, and this is where we can look back on those mistakes and they can remain mistakes. But here's the challenge: let mistakes be mistakes. Don't let mistakes define you. Don't let mistakes become part of your identity. Don't let those things that you didn't accomplish at the beginning of the year be the reason why you don't try to pick it back up and make it happen towards the end. This might be, I didn't have this in my notes, but I just thought about it. This might be the time to get in your phone and get in that notes app or get in that whatever app you use on your phone or the various notebooks that you keep laying around, this might be the time to go open up those pages and see those beautiful ideas that you wrote at the beginning of the year. It might be a good time to open up that notes app and see, or that voice memo, like I do sometimes. It might be a good idea to sit down, set aside an hour or so each week over the next couple of months to go through that notes app or your voice recorder or your notebook and review what you wrote to yourself. Review those positive affirmations, review those scriptures that you wrote down to encourage yourself, to go back and listen to that voice memo and hear the energy and passion and the drive that you had and see that, so that you can see, hey, a couple of months ago, I wrote this message to myself. I wrote this goal to myself, and I did it for this reason. And it was clear then, but life happened and things happened, and I got thrown off my course. You can get back on course. You can get back on track, but you gotta get and stay motivated. Life happens. And there are serious reasons why some of us fall short of our goals. I'm not negating or neglecting that. What I'm suggesting, though, is that you wrote that goal for a reason. You set out at the beginning of the year in pursuit of whatever that goal is for yourself, whatever that dream is, or that significant milestone in your life. You set out to achieve that for a reason at the beginning of the year. And I want you to go back. I want you to revisit it. And I want you to see, what adjustments do I need to make to see if I can finish this year out and do this? What are some things? What are some things that you're in pursuit of? How can we support each other? I want to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave this in the comment section. If you're on Spotify, you can leave this in the Q&A, or you can DM me or send me a message on LinkedIn or on at B Jones Speaks on X and on Instagram. And on Facebook, you can leave me a message there and just share the different things that you're in pursuit of and how I can support you in pursuit of it. Maybe we need to do a project together. Maybe we need to do a coaching call. Maybe you need to get directed to a resource that's close to you. Maybe you're in need of a new support system and you're trying to figure out how to make that happen. I want to hear from you. You can send me an email, bjones@bjonespeaks.com. That's how you can reach me. Yeah, or if you want to contact me on social media, I'm available at all of those platforms that I just mentioned. You can follow along on the link tree as well. But I want to hear from you. All right. So again, go after those goals. Make those necessary adjustments. Let me repeat my little steps. I'm scrolling my notes. You need to understand what a halftime adjustment is, um, and be flexible. Okay. You need to assess your progress and ask yourself, what goals have I achieved so far? What obstacles have I faced? Are my original goals still relevant, or have my priorities changed? Then you want to make those adjustments, find those areas for change, set new milestones, get some feedback, and stay motivated. If you do those things, I promise you, you're going to have a good year. You're gonna reach those goals, and even if you don't reach all of them, you'll reach the majority of them. The goal is to be obedient to that thing. Okay, there's a reason why you had that goal. Don't forget that. All right, you all take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll talk to you next time.